I have a question.
Yes.
What's the value of emotions?
Emotions are have a good deal. They're very worthwhile and they're very important. There are these emotions that are such that they are able to bring us back to a point of departure that has taken place in our lives. The point of departure is that these distressing emotions are always about what doesn't exist. They're real, but they always are pointing us to what isn't. And of course, we've been making strong statements here about the future doesn't exist, the past doesn't exist. They are over. The past is over, ended, dead, buried, gone. The future is an illusion. It doesn't. It hasn't happened yet. But often we treat it as a fact when it isn't a fact. But it has such vividness to it. Why? Because the emotions of anxiety, worry, fear, guilt, shame, panic, and so forth are always connected to the future. So when you and you
Also,
can
they're
ask me,
like bouncing off. They're bouncing off my idea about the future. I'm bouncing off my idea about the
well, they're
past.
fueling the ideas about the future. So the future is like the engine, and these distressing emotions are the fuel, the gas that's put into the tank to give it its sense of charge. So it seems like it's really here, like that. So and then the ones that deal with the past, depression, and regret, and feelings of guilt, and so on, shame. So they're always connected with what doesn't exist. But that is significant importance because it gives us a signal and a reminder that we strayed away from where our real need to live and be, which is here in this instant, in this moment, to live in this presence of the present, where everything exists for us, and where all of our answers are. And you will see, as Karen mentioned, that when we come back out of these distressing states and come back to the moment, the intuition that kind of those messages from that invisible essence reality that we're now being given a push to pay attention to will give us direction to what to do in our lives, or not to do, as the case may be, what steps we can take. So it's giving us that, so it has this value. Beyond that, there's nothing more to deal with concerning them. We don't need more content about them. Whereas psychology has given them a great deal of merit and credence to, what are you anxious about, dear? Could you tell me what's going on? And what makes you feel anxious? And what is it about? And those are just going to be stories upon stories and beliefs upon beliefs about them. But they've already done their job. So there's no need to get involved with them anymore because they're pushing us back to where we need to be. In the moment of the moment, in the presence of the present, what begins to emerge in us are these really incredibly life-giving, life-giving emotional experiences. Joy, happiness, peace, contentment, fellowship, friendship, a sense of being, feeling at one with ourselves in the world, and so on. And you were going to ask a question about
Yeah, I
and what
wanted to
love,
know what is love an emotion?
as it's felt. It's an emotion, it's a feeling. We can begin to experience faith and hope and so on. So these are really very powerful, productive, life-giving experiences that are reviving our system, and we're becoming more alert, and our physiology is reflecting that. And our physiology is starting to become more alive, and we're stopping the breakdown and decay of our system. But here, love is not only a felt experience, but it's also a state of being. It's a way of being in the world. So we can feel loving towards someone. We can feel in love. We can feel love toward. We can be, so we can feel love toward our neighbors, as it says in the wisdom tradition in Numbers, love your neighbor as yourself. In the New Testament, it says, love your enemy. and so on. And then in this very powerful statement of in Deuteronomy, love God with all your heart, soul, and might, meaning love this love this invisible side of self, and love where it has come from and where we have come from as material beings, that altogether we've come from some great source, some great divine seed that's put us here, and we need to give our attention to it and find ourselves marrying that, really creating a spiritual wedding, and at the same time marrying each other in that way. So we're all in this giant wedding party on earth, and we've been invited to a wedding party by this great source, and we're invited guests, and we want to be good guests, all feeling convivial and loving with each other, and feelings of conviviality and so on, and sharing and giving and teaching and being if you will, gratuitous with each other in terms of being able to share without needing anything back, to give genially, give merrily, to give happily, to give without any conditions, and so on. So it's a great state of being alive. It says in the ancient tradition, and King Solomon said in Song of Songs, love is strong as death. So this is a very important consideration for us to make about where love can take us, and so on, as a powerful healing force that it is in the world, amongst the most powerful healing forces that exist on earth. So it has that preeminent importance, along with what I mentioned about faith and hope, and many of these other factors.
Right, so I have a question. The difference between, you talk about love in a very as a way of being in the world. You show love to your neighbor, you show love to your enemy,
and to yourself,
or to your lover, or to your family. Are we not, privileging the falling in love, the romantic love, the whining and dining, the husband and wife, what have you?
No.
That's like any other relation.
Yes, it has strings, it has dependencies, it has contingencies, it has an agenda, often. So it's not a pure just is. So there's nothing more to say about it. This love is, there are no demands that are hidden in it. Nothing that you need to get back. I don't need a reward for that, and so on. It's very similar to being gratuitous in that way, where you're giving without the need to get, and so on. So when you're in that mode of being with somebody else, then you're in this unconditional loving state. It just is.
Yeah. Well,
Faith is.
It's easy to be. It seems it's easier. It's easier to be in the state of being, of loving, if you're romantically in love, because you want to do it. But when your neighbor is being annoying and I don't know, shoveling his snow onto your driveway, it's like a lot harder.
Yeah, but as Shakespeare said, but that's the rub. When it's that going on and being loving in that way, and you're not liking the behavior. So we're separating the behavior of a person from the being of a person. So the behavior of the person you may not like, because it is impeding and interfering in a way that's really unnecessary, which we call an error of living, a sin. It's an error. It may be done purposely to hurt you, and so on, which is called an iniquity, and so on. So it's done in a way that is not to your liking, and then you respond in this reflexive, mechanical way, hey, and you get angry and so on. Now you're in an emotional state that's depleting your life force, your life energy, because there's no separation really between the physical, the emotional, the mental, the social, and the moral. It's all acting as one unit of experience at that moment, in truth. So something is happening to you physiologically at that moment, which is not preservative of the life of the body at all. It's dissipating the life force out of the body, like that. So the romantic love is not unconditional love, and parental love is not unconditional love. Sexual love is not unconditional. Brotherly love, sisterly love, friendship love, not unconditional.
You can bring those under the aegis of unconditional love, correct?
You can bring it under the umbrella.
Yeah.
But you're needing to shift into this What about all these promises that go unmet in your life, and you feel such disappointments? Your husband promised or your wife promised to be this way to you in life, and I promised to obey and to be faithful and to all the stuff that goes with the marriage ceremony. And what happened to all those promises? And we were talking today, weren't we, about what the divorce rate is in the United States, how enormous it is. That doesn't even take into account the separations of people that haven't yet technically become divorces. And it's estimated that it's well over 80% altogether like that. Separations, divorces, people who by faith, by their religious faith can't be divorced, and so on. They're trying to get divorced, but the conditions of their religious life and these different religious traditions of the West particularly don't permit it, and they want to keep it to that. And my response was, what's the ultimate promise? What is the singular promise to keep? And I raised this in response to your question about love. To love. So the ultimate promise is, I promise to love you with all my heart, soul, and might. That's the key promise. So I'm going to promise the invisible reality, the intangible reality, and I'm going to promise, as it says in Deuteronomy, I'm going to love you with all my heart, soul, and might, and I'm going to love the neighbor, you, with all my heart, soul, and might. That's what I'm doing. That to me is the overarching promise, and to keep that in mind all the time. When the distressing emotion comes, I missed it, because I can't fear and love at the same time. I can't worry and love at the same time. I can't be angry and love at the same time. There's a little exception in love, because you need a modicum of love for creativity. So that energy, because the
modicum of love or modicum of
anger,
right?
Because the vim of life, that vim also gives rise to a word that's connected with anger. But anger can be a push. Jackson Pollock throwing paint at the canvas was an act of anger.
It's a response to
Beethoven,
the resistance of the life where he pushes through.
he pushes through, and it helps you to push through. That's a certain
Yeah.
that's a certain modicum of anger. But all of those feelings are standing in the way. You can't be worried in love. You can't be guilt-ridden in love. You can't be envious in love. You can't be jealous in love. You can't. The two feeling states can't, or the two ways of being can't occupy the same inner space at the same time. Just like two objects.
Can you love jealousy?
Excuse me?
Can you love jealousy?
No.
Can you love anger? Can you love another emotion that's distressing?
No. You're accepting of those emotions. You're not fighting them, and you're not judgmental about them, neither for yourself or for others. So you're accepting the way people are and the way you are, because in doing that, you're welcoming. You're being gracious. You're being gratuitous to yourself by welcoming all these emotional states that are taking place.
You can love yourself in a state of jealousy.
Right.
Excuse me?
Exactly.
You can love yourself in a state of jealousy.
Well,
You can I love this in a state of jealousy. I love this in a state of anger. I love this in a state of...
I can
But
continue loving myself even as I do
yes, but jealousy
destructive things.
Yeah, but how can that be?
It's just I'm not condemning the person. I'm just maybe corralling
But jealousy.
the emotion.
It's like you're saying love the guest, so I'm loving the guest that's come to tell me that I'm off my path.
That I'm off my path. So I love, you mean I love you for coming to tell me. Thank you. I appreciate that you came to let me know. That's a different story, because jealousy in and of itself is a seed for murder, and envy is a seed for war. So I wouldn't want to embrace them, but I would thank them for being there to let me know, and then usher them out the back door. And you say, I thank you for coming to the party.
Well, can't you love them and then they become transformed? The process of loving them transforms and diffuses that energy and transforms it into something
Well, that's what we did. It's correct. That's what we're getting to. In that by showing love toward them can have a transformative effect on them.
So meeting them with a face of love,
Yes. You
because
meet
you're
them,
mirroring.
you're mirroring, so you're meeting them with the face of love and not condemnatory toward them, because they are coming from a source in that other, in you or another person, that is for you or the other person right, proper, and justified at that moment. Everybody is doing what's necessary for themselves given their conditioning and their misunderstanding about life, the misperceptions about life, the misconceptions, whatever's going on, whatever errors of living that we're all conducive to making and so on. We are not being judgmental toward anything, and we're accepting them. And so is there hope for this world that we can change the jealousy and the envy and the war and the murder? Can we change it? Can it all be changed? Yes, there's a hope for the continuation and perpetuation of life. So I want to keep life well. And we know that these other emotional states don't keep life well, that they're destructive to your personal life and destructive to others, and so on. So they can lead to very grave consequences. So if they're not harnessed, because they are an energy, that can be turned. So that which considered to be destructive or unproductive or limiting to us and deterrence to our life can be changed like that, but only upon accepting it in yourself and accepting it in others. But I'm not going to fall in love with them, but I'm going to meet them with a face of love, because love has to do this unconditional love. There are no barriers to it. There are no strings. There are no dependencies, no standards to be met, no demands that have to be made, no conditions to be fulfilled. There's no reward that I have to get. There's nothing that has to come back to me. It just is. And in facing that, that can have a palliative effect, a healing effect on these destructive emotional states. But I will not fall in love with them, but I will face them in a loving way. So the person who's evincing them, who is promoting them, who is living them through in front of you, you can be loving toward that person and understanding that he or she is doing what's right and proper and justified for themselves, without condemnation or judgments about it, not being judgmental, and not being an authority about what's right or wrong for them and what's good or bad. You know, they have accountability for whatever they do. We have accountability for all our actions. And so there are always consequences about that. But the welcoming part of it makes the other person feel that they're understood. Mm-hmm. And if they're understood without condemnation, that begins to have an effect. There's no resistance to it. Just come, and you're welcome. Come on into my guest house, and I'm glad to meet you. And they're glad to meet the person, and the person just falls all over himself, and his energy is used against himself. You see, and understanding this way of love would be, and you could use it and think about all the different arenas it could be used in. All those different politics, military, which seems well nigh impossible now, but anything is possible. Everything is possible. So all of these malevolent feelings, malevolent meaning that it brings destruction to the body, to the emotional life, to the mental life, to the social life, to the moral life of us, can be shifted, can be turned. Everything is possible. I mention one last thing about love, that one of the ancient sayings that came to us 2,000 years ago from a famous rabbi named Hillel was, if I am not for me, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself, what am I? If not now, when? Which speaks to what we've been talking about before. Take your choice, make your choice, take your action, and you're done with it, and go to the next moment, which is choice, action, choice, decision, action, next moment, choice, decision, action. That's how you move along in life. Boom, 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 and you're in a stream of life. That's all there is, and there's nothing more to really be concerned with, because the helping hand of the universe will be there for us. That's that leap into uncertainty, that there is an invisible reality, this great emptiness that it seems to be, will be here to sustain and support us. You'll only know by your experimentation whether that's true. And even those things that come to us that don't seem to be blessings but are, like an illness or pain or a difficult relationship that seems to emerge, they're all there as telling us, hey, you went off the track, come on back. You were in an imbalanced way. You made a mistake. We're here. We want to show you that you went off.
We need to come back to
that alignment, to that balance point that you can between your attention to your material nature and your soul nature, and so on. So to love yourself, not in this vain, arrogant, narcissistic vanity kind of way in which you're self-indulgent and everybody is to be at your feet and to be shadows in your life who are here to serve you. When you come back, if I am not for me, who will be for me? You want to be good to yourself, be kind to yourself, treat yourself well, be honest with yourself, be truthful with yourself, be good to yourself. Don't have to live in pain and suffering. You don't have to put yourself personally into pain and suffering unnecessarily to at the behest of others, and so on, which will ordinarily happen. So you want to be in a state of, and that'll help you come into, well, that'll be loving yourself. So your self-image grows to be one of feeling unified. And when that comes about, when you come into order like this, if I am only for myself, what am I? Which I don't want to be. I want to share. And you'll want to share this with others and help and share what you know to help people come into their order. So you're giving what you've attained out. You're not hoarding it for yourself. The vain people hoard it for themselves. They don't want to give anything because they want to have it all and you to have nothing and just serve them and be slaves. So you want to give it away. After you've done it for yourself, share it and give it away. That's if I'm only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? Right? It has to be at this moment because time is now. That's what you're asked to do now. Right? Okay, guys. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kara.
Oh yeah, is that it?
There's so much more to film.